Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the wilderness. Actually, I'm sitting out in my yard on the edge of the woods in a big, comfortable lawn chair. It's a nice day out today, you know. Sun's out somewhat. It's not too hot. It's really nice. Enjoying it out here, sitting in this chair. Anyway, there's a lot of road traffic noise, so you hear the cars going by. Other than that, it's pretty peaceful out here right now. Anyway, what I want to talk to you about is, listen, you guys know that there's a mess of trouble in the world right now. And not only do we have wars going on, but we've also got a financial system that's on the edge of collapse here. Here in the United States of America and Canada. And Great Britain is even worse. You know, the United Kingdom. Yeah, Europe is a mess too. The whole thing. And it all goes back to these central banks, you know, and their policies and everything. Nobody's ever held accountable. This is the thing, you know. They mess us up. We had Janet Yellen as in the Fed, you know. Now she's Treasury Secretary. And we had Ben Bernanke, and we had the last one that really tried to work with the economy was Paul Volcker. He was the last one, the last decent federal chairman of the Fed. The last one that had any amount of guts. And so right now they're trying to fight inflation. So what are they doing? They've raised 75 basis points so far. They're planning 50 and then 50 more, I guess, in June and July. What's all that going to do? Well, it's very simple. That if they can't, they're talking a big talk about how they're going to beat inflation back, and everybody's waiting to see what happens. If inflation doesn't respond to that, what is going to respond to it is the markets, and we're seeing that today. Over 1,100 points down on the Dow Jones today. That's an incredible drop. If you guys been watching, you haven't seen a drop like that in a while. It's a big one. But you know, I forecast all this coming, and you know, we might get a little bounce back between now and the next rate hike of 50 basis points, or maybe 75. They ain't going to stop inflation. Especially food inflation, which is what's striking the people worst of anything. That's what's upsetting the people worst, is the food inflation. And I'm going to tell you right now, they cannot stop food inflation at this point in time, because there's been the price of diesel fuels went up, way up. Plus, there's just a shortage of food out there. Such so that countries now have stopped exporting grains and things like that. And especially in wheat products, you know, you guys are preppers out there. You might want to put a little bit of wheat product away for yourself. I'm going to go in to the store right away, right soon, and I'm going to buy some wheat product in the form of probably pasta. Put it away for myself. Here in North America, I'm not really expecting food shortages, as in the type of food shortages that starve people to death. But what I'm actually expecting is food shortages where prices continue to rise, and rise extremely fast and high. So much so that it's going to shock you when you go to the grocery store. And that's what I'm expecting very soon. You know, it's nice out here. A little bit of a breeze right now, and it's cool. It's not too hot. We're getting nice springtime weather. The only thing is here in Nova Scotia we have something called black flies. And mosquitoes, of course. But mosquitoes aren't as much of a pest as the black flies. Black flies are sneaky. And they like to crawl. And they like to try to crawl up and around your hair and stuff. And then bite you. And they leave a bump, you know. I hate them things. Anyway. So, I'm pretty enjoying myself this afternoon. And figured I'd get a video out to you guys and tell you that we got hard times coming with the Fed doing what they're doing with these policies that aren't going to work. The only thing the policy's actually going to do is destroy the wealth effect. The wealth effect is stronger than what people realize. The people's houses go up in value, and then they're able to draw on second mortgages and things like that in order to have money to go out and buy and shop and everything. House prices start to drop, And what about these people who bought it at the top of the market? Even if they got a fixed rate mortgage, it could be tough because house prices are so extravagantly high, like 200, 300, 400, 500, 600,000 in the United States, Just a median home in the United States, I think, is selling for around $300,000. $300,000. You know what's funny is, I remember years ago they used to have movies and stuff, and in the movie, in the plot of the movie, they would have somebody stole $1 million in the movie. Like, this is back in the 1980s. They'd have a movie and a guy steal $1 million from the mob or whatever, and the mob would chase him across America and doing anything to try to get him because he stole $1 million from the mob. All right. Nowadays, that just wouldn't work for a plot. Now it would have to be like at least probably 100 million or a half a billion or something to be the plot for the movie. That's how things have changed. It's kind of like in these, they have this Dr. Evil, in these Austin Powers movies. And Dr. Evil, he goes out there and he does this whole thing where he says, where he's going to hold the world ransom, and I'm going to use this super laser to blow up a city in the world unless you pay me. And he's on the TV and he says, unless you pay me $1 million. And then they whisper in his ear and tell him that $1 million is not $1 million anymore. And this is how our money has changed, because there was a time when a millionaire was a very rich man indeed. Now people are talking, I hear them talking like on Yahoo Finance and stuff, and they say, I've saved $1 million from my retirement. Will it be enough? Just average people, This is how they've been slowly but surely destroying our dollar. Now they're destroying it really fast. Now it's going like 10% per year. You know what that means? 10, 15% per year. It means in less than 10 years, it's going to be worth zero. I mean, they're just wiping out the last few pennies now. And, people, if you've got a lot of savings in the bank right now, if you try to put it into gold, silver, cryptocurrencies, what the Fed's doing right now is hurting you there too. There's no safe place right now. There's no safe place to try to escape this financial storm. And for some people out there, they've got pensions or something, or something that they're receiving at a fixed rate of income that they got coming in, like maybe from the government, maybe they were a government worker or something like that, and they got pension funds and stuff. And for a little while here, for a number of months until the Fed capitulates, they're going to do okay. And that's because the Fed is going to try to knock inflation back and hold this thing back. And they might create some disinflation. But ultimately, by destroying the markets and stuff, they're going to put these pension funds and stuff in jeopardy. And then the inflation's going to roar up on the other side of this thing. I'll tell you kind of what it's like. I'll use an illustration for you guys. You guys are familiar with wood stoves? There's been several times in my life that I've had a runaway wood stove fire. For one reason or another, not all wood stoves are airtight, and I've worked in the past with non-airtight wood stoves, and got a fire that just got going a little bit too hot and started to make the pipe cherry red in the back and started to make a roaring sound like it'll create its own draft, and it starts to run away. And it's, and the solution for that is to fill up a cup full of water calmly. You calmly go over to the faucet and you fill up a cup full of water and you throw it in there on the ashes. You never throw it on the stove, red hot stove. You'll warp the stove. but you throw it in there on the ashes, just 1 cupful. Don't put too much because it'll cool it too fast. You might crack your stove. But just put 1 cupful in, and you shut the door. You know. The thing is that'll take the fire right down. If it's a good-sized cupful, maybe 16 ounces of water, it'll take the fire down a lot, and it'll stop roaring, and right? But here's the thing: you shut the door on it, and after about 2 minutes goes by, and this fire has made all of that into steam again, it'll start to roar up again. Might require another cupful. That's what's happening with the Fed right now. It's like they're throwing a cupful of water on this thing, and they could cause a bit of disinflation, but they're going to destroy the economy in doing so. Because they're going to destroy the wealth effect. Then they're going to pop all of the asset bubbles that they've created. And then when everything's going down at 90 miles an hour, they're going to panic, and they're going to say, oh my goodness, what have we done? We've destroyed the economy. We got to get in there and fix it. That's the recipe. This is the recipe for hyperinflation, guys. Not for just inflation, but hyperinflation. And I'm going to tell you guys, hyperinflation is a frightful thing, especially when it strikes someplace like the United Kingdom or America. We've never seen it before. The Germans during the Weimar hyperinflation can tell you how bad it actually is and what it does to the people in a country. You know, and it's a key for not only civil unrest, which can occur, but it's also a key for rulers to come into power afterwards that are dictators. It's a recipe for that, and it's a bad recipe for that. And so we're in for some hard times coming up in the next couple of years, next 2 years, I'd say, or 3 years. But we are going to get through this thing. We're going to get through it together. Thank you guys for listening to my show. And listen, go over to Patreon and put in Financial Turmoil Explained over there. And I'm doing shows over there now on Patreon. And they're going to be like my podcasts. I'm doing like 1 or 2 a week over there, podcasts, and I can talk over there more than I can talk on sites like on social media. They've done this thing, I don't know if you guys have known about it or not, where there's certain subjects they say, hey, you just can't talk about this on here. Period. Certain subject matters that some things I'd like to talk about, but I can't talk about. Otherwise, I'll get whatever they do, you know. Yeah, and a lot of people say, well, that's not their right to do that, but they do own the platform, you know. Anyway, they do own the platform. It does belong to them, so they do have a right to say what is said on their platform, I suppose, you know. But you know, these platforms now are becoming a way of expression, the only means of expression that the people have anymore. And so this is a little bit of a tricky area because it's become the only means of expression for the people out there. This is the only way we talk to each other anymore, is across this. We don't, ever since social distancing and everything else, we tend to talk to each other over the internet a lot more than we talk to each other in real life. You know, and it's becoming an accepted way now of people communicating back and forth. So then this becomes a little bit of a tricky area there, where if a company or whatever owns a social platform, just what they want to do with that, you know, because they do own it, it becomes kind of a little bit tricky, you know, as regards things like freedom of speech and stuff like that. Because this is how we communicate now, back and forth. And so I'm not going to try to define the legal areas of all this. I'm not interested in doing that so much. There's people out there, lawyers and stuff, that's able to figure out all the legal and requirements and everything of that. But I do realize that in a way it's not a good thing, you know. I mean, you should be able to say what you want, but then again, on the other hand, too, you have to take into consideration things that people shouldn't be saying. You know, there are things that people shouldn't say that hurt other people, and I try to really avoid I even avoid subjects like that of subject matter that would hurt other people or people. But people are awful sensitive nowadays. They are, really, and some people are ultra sensitive. But we live in a world that's desensitized, so everything's upside down right now in this world we live in, and we're all trying to muck our way through it. It's changed so much just in the last few years. Just a few years ago, I'd never be able to stream this onto the internet and talk to you guys like this. Take a look at what the computers were like 20 years ago. They weren't able to do anything like even closely remote to what we're able to do now. What we're witnessing is actually an evolution. And it's probably the evolution that is responsible, or an evolution very similar to what's happening right now with computer technology, is probably the evolution that's responsible for creating this universe. Because this universe is digital. And what does that mean? It means it's digits. It's math. The universe is math. Every inch of it is math. And you're perceiving this math. That's what you're perceiving, is math. And what generates math? Computers. And so what we're seeing is a revolution in computers right now that's Moore's Law has taken over. And it's increasing exponentially, and it's going to move faster now. We have AI, and when we get the second generation AI, it's going to just explode, and it is going to be able to create simulated worlds that are so immersive, so much depth involved in the simulated worlds that the computers are going to be able to generate when they get to a certain point, that you are not going to be able to distinguish the difference between the real world, what you call a real world, which is what you think you're in right now, and a simulation. And so what we're witnessing is not less than revolutionary. What we're witnessing right now is the real evolution, what I call a real evolution. And it's the evolution of computer technology that ultimately can lead toward the creation of universes that are so realistic that when your consciousness is in one of these universes, you will not know that you're in a simulated universe. So anyway, it's a complex subject, but for analysis, maybe somebody could look at, you ever seen it when mirrors are, like there's a hall of mirrors? You got mirrors on one side, and you got mirrors on the other side, and when you look in, you see smaller and smaller images, right? Well, what I would be referring to is the ultimate reality, which would be real reality, which would be what you would call base reality. Where is base reality? If this reality could possibly be a simulation that we're not aware that it's a simulation, it's probably created from another reality, and that might be a simulation as well. Inside another simulation, but ultimately you're going to get to a point where you're going to hit what's called base reality, which is the original reality. And so if you want to find out about things like evolution, you would have to get information from base reality. Because that's where your information would be. It wouldn't be in the simulations of base reality. And there could be multiple simulations of base reality, each one slightly different. And this would create a multiverse. Anyway, something to think about. But, what we're seeing with Moore's Law is we're seeing this evolution that would be historical. It's a historical evolution of computer technology that leads to ultimately being able to create a universe. A simulated universe. And they just have to break the atomic structure down and figure out the code, the atomic code, which would be the binary pattern would probably be a different binary pattern than we're using. We use ones and zeros as a binary pattern, computer binary code. They'd have to break it down and find out exactly what the code is. It might be a totally different code. Anyway, listen, guys, I'm rambling here a little bit. We're up to 20 minutes. Didn't mean for my video to get this long, but it's just nice out here. It's a little bit cool. I love it being cool. I don't like heat. You know, when I was younger, I could take a lot more heat. But the temperature here is going to go up into the 90s this Sunday. Just for a day. So it's no big deal. We'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.